Hi guys, hope you're well. Welcome to anyone that is joining us today for the Growth Strategy podcast and live stream. What I do this week and hopefully every week is talk to some really interesting people that have got some great stories to tell. I purposely try and interview real business people that are on their own journey because actually that to me is what people relate to. It's what's important, and we kind of dig into their backstory, who they are, what they've been up to, how like real world like lockdown has affected them. But also kind of dig into their business, their backstory, what they do, why they do it, and really kind of just help you learn with your business or your career from some really interesting people. So normally I actually interview people I know, but actually today with Stuart is different, but I'd seen his stuff online, really like his social media and stuff, which we touch on later. And actually because of that, I thought he'd be a really interesting guest. So I'm going to bring him in. We're going to talk for like 30, 40 minutes. And if you've got any questions, you can drop it in the chat and stuff as well. So hi Stuart, do you want to say hi to everyone?
Hello, everybody.
Perfect. I did ask you before we kind of came on, because again, we don't particularly know each other. Is it Stu or is it Stuart? And you said not to really kind of worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about that. I'm fairly easygoing. Whatever comes off the tongue, easy enough.
No, perfect. So is this your studio? I'm always interested in people's
Yeah,
backgrounds.
welcome to the workshop. Yeah, this is where everything happens. If you scroll back, sort of January time this year, I pretty much my desk was where the big sewing machine is. I had this bench and that bench, and basically a couple of chisels and some thread and nail, and that was basically it, some needles, and that was me done. It's a lot different now than what it used to be.
And just out of interest, is that at home or is this in like a studio space?
No, this is at home. At the moment, it's at home. So through those double doors is the house, and this is where I lock myself in during the day. We are looking at venues at the minute, and we're exploring ideas as we grow up. But for now, this is it really.
I appreciate the hustle because again, this too is our spare bedrooms. This is my office at home. And again, one day, hopefully soon, I'll have my own space, which will look a lot more corporate. But this is what I like. It's the real world side of it. That it's just we're all trying to find our feet, find our feet. But then, likewise, from a business point of view, at the moment, especially, it doesn't necessarily make sense to have the overhead of premises and stuff if you don't have to.
Exactly. Yeah, and to be fair, with everything that's going on, in January I was like, oh, I need to get a business venue, I need to do this, I need to look more professional, I have to have a coffee room, I need people to come see me. As soon as lockdown happened, I went, all those people that rushed into that now can't go to the office and now can't work, and where I could just walk downstairs, and I went, oh, you know what, I'm in a really good position.
Mm-hmm.
And with everything that's going on, my overheads are lower, and we've been able to just do what I need to do quite simply and easily without some of those worries or those problems.
Which is that's the dream, and it's that often people they rush into something or they get tied into a lease that actually they don't need. And actually I've really enjoyed seeing some clients and guests that I've interviewed in the past who've actually they've had a premises for many years and they've since ditched it. They work remotely, but they meet up like in nicer venues just once a week with the team. They go for afternoon tea, etc. But actually that's still cheaper than having the office. So I can see this becoming more and more kind of regular. I always appreciate when it's also the honesty of saying it is at home, but it's no cool. So I always like to dig into kind of the backstory of all my different guests and that kind of thing, and a lot of that is to do with you have a lot of people growing up who might have ambitions to start their own business, but they don't know necessarily where to start. They might not, like when I was growing up, I didn't necessarily know anyone that had done it, like from scratch kind of thing. So there might be someone in Stockton or Thornaby or Newcastle or wherever that sees this on YouTube and actually resonates with your story and it inspires them a bit. So would you like to tell people, like, did you grow up in the Northeast?
Yeah. I'm fully Stockton through and through. I went to Ian Ramsey School down the road. So I live and I'm based in Norton in Stockton. But yeah, Ian Ramsey School, literally 10 minutes down the road. If someone said to me, Stu, you're going to own your own leather business, you're going to be designing products and whatever else, I'd have called them mad. This definitely was not what I was expecting to do. In fact, if you actually look through my family, my brother, landscape gardener, my other brother's a builder, everybody in my family are very, very good with the hands. I can barely put a shelf up. I'm really not a builder or technical person when it comes to something with your hands. So when this started happening, everybody thought I was sort of a lunatic and going, Stu, you're going to cut your fingers off, which has only happened once.
Do you have 10 fingers?
Oh, still got 10 fingers, but I kind of took the top of one of them off when I wasn't watching what I was doing properly. Entertaining days, never a dull day. So
what were you like at school?
It depends who you ask. I was a nice, good kid. But to be fair, I wasn't one of the ones that paid attention in class. Looking back at it, I just don't think I was ready for education at the time. I wasn't wanting to learn. I wasn't really there I was there to see my mates and have a good time and a bit of a laugh. I wasn't doing homework. I wasn't paying attention, that sort of stuff. And it wasn't until a little bit further down the line where I started realizing, you're not stupid. You're just not putting attention into it. I was estimated an E in my maths exam and my GCSEs. I got a C, and I actually passed with 91 or 87% correct in the lower tier. And that was because I went, I better actually get this C. So I put effort in for about 2 weeks, and I put all my attention to something, and I passed. And that was one of the first indicators where you go, you know what, actually, if you try and you do apply yourself, you can actually achieve something. So you'll learn throughout this conversation. I like to take an opportunity and go with it. And if I take an opportunity, and the girlfriend would sort of laugh if she heard me saying this, but I get obsessed. I obsess over something. So if I'm like, I'm going to give that a go, I give it my all. I don't do halves. So, every single thing I've gone, I'll give that a try. It's not been a dip your toe in and see what happens. It's been a full-on, let's go for it. Yeah, basically, if you're going to do it properly, and that's sort of, that's why I've, danced on TV.
Okay, you've got to tell me that story then.
Right, okay. Have you heard of Diversity, the dance
Yes,
group?
yeah.
So they came to Stockton to do a TV show called Ashley Banjo's Big Town Dance. And throughout that, and this is another thing I said yes to, I was working in IT, but I was also a martial arts instructor, which is something I know you mentioned before. That came about because I got asked if I wanted to try teaching martial arts. Just because of sparring. I was sparring with some people. I tend to be quite good at it. So the instructor or one of the owners of the club said, do you want to teach the sparring? I said, yes. Now, because I said that, when I was at a networking event, one of the film producers came up to me and was talking about this TV show and saying, wanting business people involved, this, that, and the other. When they said one of the people we're looking for is a kickboxing instructor. And someone who knew me in the network and went, Stu can do kickboxing, he'll do it for you. And I was like, okay, why not? So I went along. I kicked Ashley Banjo in the head twice, which is my kind of thing.
He's a big lad, isn't he?
Kick him in the head. I think he's 6'7" or something like that. I tell you, I couldn't kick him in the shin now. I'm a little bit further on. But, because of these choices and going, I'll give that a go, it opened more doors. Now, the whole dancing on TV thing, that came about because I was doing kickboxing. Somebody went, Stu does that. So the producer went, give that a go. Come on, let's try it. I went to the audition, I got in. And then I danced with Diversity for 3 months. And we went on Sky One, which was fantastic. Going forward from that, and we'll talk about this later on as well, one of the lads I met on there, a guy called Ryan, now owns his own energy business. And when I went full-time Coupland leather, he said, can you do with some products? So from going from IT to giving the chance with kickboxing, to giving it the chance with dancing on TV, meeting somebody, actually turned into business later down the line when I went full-time played. So taking those opportunities kind of turned into business in the long run because of that network that I grew.
It's always one of my favourite things, because obviously we don't really know each other anyway, but it's when an interview goes somewhere where you're really not expecting it to. But that's the fun of it, because again, one of my big things is that you see so much, like obviously we'll talk about social media later on, but you see so much stuff which is just churned out. It's a bit disingenuous. It's not that authentic. because it's almost, I appreciate the energy drink as well at
Oh,
3:15 in the afternoon.
That's I'll be honest, I've had 2 coffees and that's my second monster. I've been up since 5 o'clock trying to make stuff. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate your time to kind of talk to people as well, which is good.
No, it's all right.
So talk me through your career. How did you kind of get started? Because I know you've had a few different kind of roles.
Yeah, so I used to work for my parents, and they were going back to when I'm sort of 17-ish here. I used to work for my mum and my dad. My mum had a cafe, my dad has his own business. So I was working for my dad, and he was part of a networking organisation. Mm-hmm. And part of one of his mornings when he was there, someone stood and said, "We're looking for an apprentice." And Dad went, "I know someone who can work for you," because he's rubbish for me. He went along and he made me put a CV in. So I put a CV in, I got the job. From that, I think I started working from the 14th of December, 2010. And I think that following Friday, I was at the networking meeting at 6 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. And I was there pretty much every week. So from pretty much 18 years old, I've been doing business to business networking.
Out of interest, which networking group is it?
So this is B&I, this one.
I guessed when you said the early mornings.
Yeah.
Be honest, is it any good?
Yeah, yes, it is, right? And I've been in it now for 10 years, right? So I'll give you my honest opinion of it, right? It's fantastic for new startups. It's fantastic for people who are trying to grow. And this is my opinion, because it's good for established mm-hmm. businesses as well, don't get me wrong. But for growing your network, mm-hmm. and, if you met me that very first Friday, I think my boss counted and I something like 31 times. My name is, and from going to those meetings, my presentation skills hugely got developed. Now, from the very first meeting, and this is something you were on about before, about people, helping you out and stuff. Very first meeting, I started getting contacts. I didn't realise at the time, but people were interested in me. I was an 18-year-old lad. I very first started there. People like to help each other, like to offer advice, they like to work with you. So over the years of going to these meetings and meeting all these various people, they'll tell you, "Oh, I had this problem last week," or "We were trying to sort this out," or "This is happening," or, and you're listening to these conversations, these business owners, and going, "Jesus, that really happened?" Mm-hmm. Or, and things that you'll never expect. So when I started my own business and these problems that came up, I've gone, "Oh, I know, I'll give Jonathan a ring, he can deal with this." Or I know, Tony had that problem 3 years ago. I know what he done about that. And because you're around these people, you get to pick up these tips, these tricks, and you have the ability to have those conversations. Today I've launched a new product, which is a pair of weightlifting straps, leather weightlifting straps. I spent 7 months testing products out, testing leathers out, seeing thickness and length and all this. So I've picked the phone up to a bunch of people today and gone, "Do you know anybody who'd be interested in this?" Mm-hmm. And I picked up the phone to a couple of sports clubs, quite large sport clubs, and gone, "Do you think your gym would be interested in this?" Mm-hmm. And, we've got 7 orders and potentially 12 going into these sports clubs.
Do you know
4 hours ago?
Stockton-based Joe Mafosa?
Yeah, Joe. I'm a sponsor of Joe. So wow. Joe's a good friend of mine. He's getting a set of weightlifting.
That wasn't a planted question, by the way. I didn't know the answer. Joe, I just guessed.
Joe, genuinely, I'm a sponsor of Joe. I met Joe again, and this is what I mean. This is the network. So if you ask me what's my key to success, it's networking. That 100%. It's not necessarily about who you know, but it's about who you know and who they know. Mm-hmm. Reaching out to people and seeing where their extended network goes. Joe, I sold a belt to a gentleman. In fact, I sold a few. And he went, "Do you want to come to the bike racing thing around the corner?" I was like, "Oh, yeah, go on then, why not?" And Joe was there. So I met Joe, I had a chat with him. I said, "Hey, look, how about I start sponsoring you? You're after people to stand there." So I started sponsoring Joe, and I do him products. He's got a few things up there already. He's got a wallet over there that needs finishing tomorrow. He's got some straps going next week. And yeah, Joe's absolutely fantastic, lad.
Because I met Joe via one of my contacts called Steve Gordon. And actually, it's like
Steve, yeah, I know Steve. So Steve was there the same night.
Yeah, so everyone knows Steve. And then basically we had a really good chat, but I guess because my background is, I say, slightly bigger businesses, but the business side of it, we actually had a really interesting chat just because, and Joe's a former guest on this, and Joe talked about how potentially getting into property, and I introduced Joe to some of my other guests, and it is funny how this works. And I would class us as friends, but I'm not as cool as he is. But but what you're saying is completely true, and it's true. It's about just building your networking, putting your face out there.
Yeah.
So
and that's it. Purely that's it. That is the trick.
So your career, did it start in IT? If you want to kind of talk us through.
It did, yeah. Started in IT. I was there for about 2.5 years with the IT company, Yarm Computers at the time. And then from BNI, I got an opportunity to go work with an insurance brokers over Redcar. They said, look, we want to grow our business. Do you want to try this? And I went as a customer manager with them. I was there for a year. And then again through BNI, someone said, Stuart, we'll look at growing our business. Do you want to come up for us? I went, all right, yeah, why not? And that sort of repeated itself. People come, when you work in sales, it's kind of one of those things. When somebody turned around and said, you can be the area manager of York, and then you go, you know what? I'm 21. On my CV, that's going to look amazing. Let's give it a go. And I've always had that thing where I've gone, long term, how is this going to affect me? How is this going to look? Mm-hmm. And I went, that's a good position. So I went and worked there. Then I went and worked for a cables company called India Electronics over in Thornaby. From there, Yarm Computers, who I originally worked for, said, do you want to come back? We're trying to grow our business. We need to be our business development manager. So I went there. That was there for a couple of years. Another IT company said, do you want to come work for us? And I went and worked for them, While I was working for them, that's when I got this house. I moved here. And the fire service across the road had a big sign outside of it going, we're hiring retained firemen, join now sort of thing. So I was like, oh, go on then, why not? So I applied online and, they said, do this English exam. I was like, okay, computer. So I've done an English exam. I went, do this maths exam. So like, okay. They said, do this English and maths exam. And you're like, right, okay. And then it was come down for a medical, come down for a fitness test, go get your kit. You start in October. And that was literally the process. It was a throwaway application. That'd be quite cool to try.
So this was as a retained firefighter, I think from your LinkedIn it says. And what is that? Is that, I guess?
So as a retained fireman, you basically have a full-time job in the real world. So Monday to Friday, 9 till 5, I was business development manager for an IT company. From 5 o'clock, I go home, get showered, get changed. From 6 o'clock, I was a fireman. So fully fledged fireman, all the powers, all the responsibilities. But I was on call, so I'll be sat at home watching TV with a pair of jogs and a T-shirt on. And I had a beeper. If that beeper went off, I had 5 minutes to get from where I am to the fire station, in kit, the back of the lorry, ready to go. Okay, so you tended to be in assistance of the whole timers. Mm-hmm. So if there's a fire and someone's house is burning down, the whole timers will go straight away. And back when they're getting there and start to deal with it, you turn up to back them up. Occasionally, they're already out in the shout, and you're the first ones there. A lot of the time, they don't want to get out of bed, and you're putting out bin fires at 3 o'clock in the morning, which happens a lot. But that was basically, so I was on call from 6.
Or was it voluntary? A little bit?
Kind of.
Because what I was going to say, it's a big commitment, because it's very cool. Yeah. I'm sure it helps you pick up women.
Hours. But well, I remember walking into a bar. There was the smell of petrol next door. So we turned up to this pub, and me and a mate of mine walked in full costume, and everyone started cheering, thinking we were strippers. Yeah, and that was it. Hey, get it off, get it off. What are you about? And it took us a second to go, oh, hang on a minute, right? No, it's not what's happening. What had happened is someone had poured petrol down the drain, thinking it was the easy way to get rid of it, and it's flown through the drainage systems, and you could smell it down the entire street. Anyone watching, don't do that. Don't do that. But basically, I was doing 90 hours a week on call. So Monday to Friday, every night from 6 o'clock at night to 6 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. Then the Friday, I was on at 6 o'clock at night till 12 o'clock on the Saturday. Then Saturday, I was from 9 o'clock at night to 12 o'clock on a Sunday. And then Sunday was 9 o'clock at night till 6 o'clock in the Monday morning.
Because it is very cool, but it's a big commitment.
Yeah, I've done it for just over 2.5 years, nearly 3 years, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a very big commitment, to be fair. I got with my missus, who we're still with today. We've been together 4 years, and we probably got together 2 or 3 months after I started with the fire service. Now, her life kind of changed with mine. If we went to her parents' house on a Friday for tea, we were going, all right, it's 8 o'clock, we've only got 20 minutes before I need to leave. Because you can't, I had to get home, get showered, because you can't be wet. Because your hair if you're wet, it turns into steam and it can burn you, so you can't be wet. So you got to get home, get showered, and you're ready and clean and sorted by the time you're on call. So you can go to bed and hopefully your alarm doesn't go off. But she was getting in the same routine as me, where we couldn't just go out. You're on call. You can't just pop to the shop because you're on call. If your alarm goes off, you have to drop what you're doing, get to the car, get to the PlayStation, get on the appliance, and go to the job. It's physically impossible within 5 minutes. One of the best ways to describe it is house arrest. It's kind of you look at it. You're on house arrest for those hours that you've said you'll be there, and you have to give that in advance by a week. So you have to know exactly what you're doing a week in advance. And if you have to change your plans, you have to ring the fire station and say, this is why I have to come off because of this reason. And hopefully it's a good enough reason where they go, yeah, okay. Because you can't take the appliance off the run. Because if you take the appliance off the run, then they can't go and deal with the fire. So it's a big responsibility. It's very rewarding. And I've got to say, I've done things with the fire service which I never would have done in normal life. And, I'm a prouder person for doing it. But yeah, it's a big thing. I miss it. I miss it a lot.
Have you ever saved anyone's life?
I have been to a couple of road traffic accidents where I've helped people. I've never had a house fire with somebody in it, thankfully.
Do you remember Backdraft in the 90s? I remember that film.
I've witnessed Backdraft in real life. I have seen the film, yeah. But one of the things during training you had to do was witness what it would do. Okay. And it's scary. It is scary. I remember I was in a house fire. So backdraft basically happens when there's no oxygen flow in a room. All the gases build up, but the fire dies down. And basically, when you open a window or a door, all the air flies in. The fire gets bigger, sets fire to the gases in the air, and it blows out the window, the doors, or whatever. And I remember being in a house fire and the window smashed. And my heart dropped, and I went, oh my God, backdraft, I'm going to get blown up. And then I went, oh, hang on a minute, the hose is dragging through a giant doorway, and there's plenty of airflow, and I'm absolutely fine. But it's that instant going, what's going to happen? And I was with a friend of mine also called Stuart, and we sort of like paused, and we sort of went, no, we're okay, carry on. You just don't know what's going to happen, But yeah.
At what point during your career did you get the itch to start doing your own thing?
So I think, and the whole, you surround yourself by 5 people and you become the average of those 5 and all that sort of thing. Through my entire career, I've been around business owners and successful people. So I think from a very, very early age, I've always been, I'd quite like to have my own business, but not really being ready to take that leap. I remember the very first business I tried to get going was called the Snake Hotel, which kind of sounds like a brothel, right? And I know it does. But what it basically was, if you've got a dog, right, you can go to a kennels and leave your dog. If you've got a cat, you can go to a cattery and leave your cat. If you've got a snake, a lizard, a turtle, a scorpion, a spider, anything of an exotic pet, there's nowhere really to take it. You can take it to a pet shop. Obviously, they close at a certain time, open at a certain time, left on their own. There's a vet around the corner who will do a holiday type of pet sitting service, but they need the space for the sick animals because they look after sick reptiles. So I was like, well, I had five exotic pets, and I went, I've only got 3 now. But I went, right, okay, I've got an idea. We've got a business, the Snake Hotel. I will open an exotic snake sitting service, pet sitting service, called the Snake Hotel.
How did it go?
The business plan was perfect. Animal welfare was involved. They liked everything I was doing. The veterinary service involved. They liked what I was doing. I had a lot of pet shops. The only thing that fell down was the funding. The people went to me, it's too much of a new, risky idea. Nobody else is doing this, so we don't want to back it. my response to the woman on the phone, which was quite abrupt, was some bloke started a book service in his garage. It's now called Amazon, and that was a risky idea as well, wasn't it? But, you know, I just kind of went, you know what, if it's not right now, it might be right another time. So that got put on the back burner. And I probably spent maybe 4,000 or 5,000 on setting that business up, buying equipment and heating things. And I started converting the garage, and I'd done all this stuff. And I kind of went, well, that was a waste of money, until I realised how much I had learned through that, you know, building business plans, speaking to people, looking at regulations, all this stuff I sort of gathered through that 4 or 5 month process. I was like, I've learned a lot from that. That was fantastic.
I just want to throw something out there because it's relevant to exactly what we've just said. So my first business, I started because I was a PhD student, and I'd come back from working overseas. I was on a scholarship, if you call it that, but it was 13 grand a year. So it wasn't massive. Wow. So I started my first business, which is a photography business. And the kit, which is holding this light above my head, so this frame next to me, is from that first business. So not only did I learn how to sell stuff and brand stuff and whatever, I got to keep all the cool stuff that I kind of wanted.
Yeah,
and it's
exactly.
Still, it's useful.
Yeah, and you know, people try businesses and they fail, but they don't fail.
Yeah.
What they've done is they've invested in themselves to learn how not to do something or how to do something. You know, I learned how to write a business plan. Never knew that before, you know, but I now know how to do one. So when it came to doing Coupland, the business plan didn't take me as long. So, you know, I already had a template.
Tell people about the business.
Yeah, so after all that, I make leather wallets. I went on holiday a couple of years back now, probably getting on for 3 years, something along those lines. I went to Turkey. And in the resort, there was you know, when you have the shops in the resort, there was a watch stall. So a South African bloke, best accent I've ever heard, was there, and he was like, do you want to buy a watch? And I was like, oh, I've got a nice watch, but I quite like your watch straps. You know, will it fit my watch? And he had a lot, and he went, no, they're too wide, but if you're happy, I'll trim it down a size. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So I went, yeah, go on then. So he got his strap out and he cut the corners of this watch strap off, and he fit it onto my watch. And I was like, oh, that's possibly one of the coolest things. I've now got something that's made for me.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I quite like that buckle. Can I have that buckle instead? He went, yeah, no problem. So he swapped the buckles over, and I was like, oh, this is magic. And I was wearing this watch strap, proud as punch. And I said this, I said, you know, I could make one of these. And he's like, oh, here we go, sort of thing. You know, I was like, well, if you think you can do it, try it. So I went home. And I Googled, I YouTubed, I looked on forums, how to make a watch strap, how to make a wallet. I brought lists of what they were using, what tools they were using, and I compiled this list in my wife, one list. And I spent about 500 quid on the cheapest, most basic leather tools you could find. And I still use that from the day, to be fair. And I tried to make a wallet, which was horrendous. And I swear, you folded it in half, and this wallet, when you folded it in half, was smaller than a bank card. It's up there somewhere. So I went, all right, okay, that was horrendous, but you know, let's try again. So I made another wallet. That was worse. You know, you kind of you shook it and it looked like paper. It was horrendous. So I was like, I'm really, really bad at this. So I went to the range, bought a big box, shot it all in, stuck it under the desk, and forgot about it for a couple of months. So this is probably July. And then in the November, I start 2 years ago.
2018.
So, yeah, 2018. Yeah. So this was in July 2018. Then in the November, I started as a sales manager for a marketing company. So November 18. And while I was sort of, so when I joined there, I left the fire service. And went, you know what, I've done my time. There's a lot of commitment. I want to get my life back. I'll put all my time into this marketing company. But at the same time, I went, I've now got 90 hours a week free on my afternoon. So what am I going to do with this time? So I went, I'll try that leather thing again. So I went on YouTube and I searched how to make leather wallets, and I found out about this material called vegetable tan leather, which is the stuff up on that wall. I don't know if you can see it, but you know, that's what that is there. Okay. That wall of leather. So I learned about this thing called vegetable tan leather. And I bought some in, and I sort of made it in the plain colour, and it turned into a wallet, you know? And I was like, oh, wow, this actually fits cards. It looked bad. It wasn't a nice wallet, but it worked and it functioned. It held cards, you know, and I was like, oh wow, I've made something here. So Christmas was coming up, so I went, oh, I'll make, you know, blah, blah, a bookmark, and I'll do this, and I'll go on Etsy and see what other people are making, and I'll try making some of them, and all that sort of stuff. And sort of after doing like the Christmassy presents and stuff, January came around, and I mentioned this to a few people, and a friend of mine, like called Sam, said to me, hey, Stu, could you make us an Apple Watch strap? And I went, why not? Let's give it a go. So I charged him £35 for an Apple Watch strap, which cost me about 45 quid to make. So I lost it, but, you know, it worked. The strap worked. It went in his wrist. It closed. It looked nice. In all intents and purposes, I'd made a product for a watch which worked, and and somebody bought it. All right, I lost money, you know, but I literally, somebody bought something I made, and it was the best feeling. So I tried a few other things, and then it kind of got around the network. So this was in February. They bought the watch strap. In the March, I think I saw about 6 things, and then in the sort of the April, there was about 10 things, and it just started getting busier because it had gone around this network that I built up over a decade. Well, this time it was about 8 years. You know, word was getting out, and I was going to work meetings, I was going to networking events, and go people, you know, which I wasn't there to represent. I was there for the marketing career. People were like, Stu, I love the pictures you put up on Facebook of that wallet. I love this, I love that. Or how was this going? And people got really interested in it. And then, you know, I got my first official resale, which was Rockcliffe Hall. Nice. And they started putting some stuff in there, and it just started picking up traction. And then in January this year, Go Limitless, the company I work for, the marketing company, they closed the doors. They went into liquidation or whatever they wanted to call it, but they just shut down. And in that week, so it was the 21st of January, Coupland Leather had made 600 quid.
And that's this year, 2020.
That's this year, yeah. That's this year. So this January, Coupland Leather turned over £600, turned over, not profit. Yeah. And most of that was mates rates anyway. And Go Limitless went, yeah, we're closing the door. And, you know, word spread it was. And I had, in the same day, on the 21st, I had about 4 job offers. People going, Stu, if you want to come work for us. And I sat there and I went, you know what, if I said, yeah, all right, John Smith, I'm going to come work for you. And the first thing I do is pick my phone and I go through my contact list and I'd ring all the people and go, here, I'm now doing this. Do you want to buy it? And I went, if I went full time, all I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up my phone and go, hey, mate, I'm doing this. Yeah. Do you want to buy something? And I went, if I go and work for, I've never failed to make somebody money. Everyone I've made work for has profited from me. So I went, if I can make money for them, why can't I make money for me? I've tested this for 2 years. You know, we've had really good months, really bad months. The bad months is because I've had good months in my actual job. You know, so more time has gone there, and the good months is kind of there's not as good things in the actual job. And you know, and it was always the more effort I put in, the more money I made out of it. The less effort I put in, the less money I made out of it. And I went, if it's possible, you know, I'd give myself 10 days. So gave myself to the 31st of January, and I went, if I can make a good enough amount of money in 10 days doing this, then I'll do it full time. If I can't, then I won't. And in that week, or in that 10 days, we made 1,600 quid. Wow.
Because you're not giving yourself a huge amount of time to really make it work. Because when I started my first photography company, because in my scholarship, I used to get paid quarterly. So I used to get £4,000 per quarter, or whatever it worked out to be, 4,200. And I had that plus my savings from when I was working overseas. And I went out and I bought an iMac and lights and stands and everything. And basically, if I couldn't make my money back within 3 months doing university black tie balls and stuff, I couldn't pay my rent. But at least I had 3 months. 10 days is next level.
It was 10 days because I had no savings. I'm horrendous for spending money. So I had no savings. The company I worked for paid me the 4 month's wage on the 21st. So my January was covered. Well, technically my next month was covered, wasn't it? Yeah, so my February was covered. I had money for the February, but come the March, I had nothing. I didn't make anything, I had nothing. So I was sat there going, right, you've got 4 job offers. So all of them, I said, let me get back to you, was what I basically said. I didn't say no. I said, let me just come back to you and let me see what's available this Saturday, and I'll come back to you sort of early belly fed. And I just rang everybody. I remember standing in the shower on my phone, texting people, going, hey, do you know anybody who wants this or this and the other? I'll be honest, I got pity sales. People bought some because I've just lost my job. I've got this leather thing. Do you want to buy a wallet? And people did, because the friends, and that was sort of the what friends do, I guess. Mm-hmm. One a good friend of mine owns a mechanical company, and he bought 6 book covers from me in my first month, which was a big chunk, about 700 quid. It was a big chunk. Mm-hmm. And I went, oh wow, this is fantastic. And you got that feeling of a sale, but you got that feeling of a sale where the money's yours. Yeah. And it's different. So I kind of went, if I can make the money this month, then we can go with this, because at least the next month's covered for cash flow.
So you're now, what are we, 9 months in? How's it going?
Very well.
Because has lockdown affected you much? Obviously you work from home.
It did. So in February we'd done about 2,200 quid.
Okay.
In March we'd done 600 quid. And that was the first week. And as everybody, you're seeing this huge drop, and you went, oh shit, what are we going to do? And it was that whole, do I get a job? I applied for Amazon. I actually got an Amazon job, but just didn't take it, basically. Because went through that panic stage. Mm-hmm. And it was the message, you obviously asked me to come on the show because, you've seen the stuff. And I get a lot of messages from people saying, I love your work, this, that, and the other. And it was message when he said, Stu, if you take an Amazon job, mm-hmm. everybody who's sort of following you and sort of looking up to you and watching you and all this, they're going to see you give up. Mm-hmm. And I went,
you're not necessarily giving up.
You're just doing what you have to do. Betrayal,
I know what you're saying.
So I kind of went, you know what? No, I'm going to push through, and I'm glad I did, because I felt as though if I took a full-time job, what was going to happen was I was going to get reliant on an income mm-hmm. from somebody else. Mm-hmm. And if I got reliant on income from somebody else, then I wasn't going to take that risk again to go back to myself. So I stayed strong with it. Now, March was bad, April was a lot better, and every month it's gotten bigger, bigger and bigger. And I don't know what it is or anything. Well, I can't do it. It's the social media side of things, which, you've sort of mentioned a few times. That was a very pleasant accident, my mm-hmm. social media. I think, and I definitely think that was the key to my success, was those videos that people have seen and watched and like. I done a post on it very early. The girlfriend said to me, Stu, you know what you should do? You should get yourself on TikTok. And I went, isn't TikTok for 7-year-olds? And she went, yeah, but you're a creative person. You've got a video, you've got so much to show. It's mm-hmm. physical.
And you can dance.
Yeah, and I can dance. No, I can't. I was at the back. The style diversity thing, I was at the back. There was a big group of people. The front of the stage was here, and I was over here somewhere. I wasn't front and center. I was horrendous, but I did it. Yeah. No, but the TikTok thing, she went, just try it. One of I think it was the 4th or 5th video I posted got 97,000 views on TikTok, and I went, oh wow. Now to be honest, the rest of them got about 10, and then it got worse and worse and worse, and I stopped putting attention into it. But one of the videos got 97,000 views, and I went, oh, there's something behind this. So what I did was I saved the video from TikTok and I shared it on the LinkedIn, mm-hmm. and that got some traction.
Was it one of your time-lapse videos?
No, that didn't come yet. So what happened next was I went, people are enjoying watching this, so I'll try Facebook Live. Mm-hmm. And I was on Facebook Live for an hour and a half, and I'd only made half a wallet, and people dipped in and out, and it was like, it was obviously boring to watch from a point of view where you just sat on the screen watching me draw on a piece of leather and cut it out. So I went, how can I, mm-hmm. Show somebody the full process properly of a build? And I went, what about time-lapse video? Mm-hmm. So I went on that TikTok, and they didn't do it. So I had a Google, and apparently on Samsung, mm-hmm. you could do what we call a hyperlapse, mm-hmm. and it's just a function on the phone. Mm-hmm. So I got my phone out, and I turned on hyperlapse, and I recorded a build. And it just sort of went from there. I stuck it on LinkedIn, and I put it on TikTok, and it just built up and built up and built up. I've got about 130 videos now so far. just of making stuff. Now, I'll be honest, I don't do everything. You know, I don't record all the stuff that I make. Usually once I get a big batch of orders in, and I'll get through half of them, and then I'll record the second half. You know, it's a lucky dip type of thing, you know, unless somebody specifically requests it, and I do get that. I don't record it. It's mainly just for social media that I record them.
One of the things that I like about it, which is why I think it's good, is that when you're trying to create a brand about anything, you have to get people to buy into the backstory and what goes into it. So if someone's going to pay more for a wallet than they could get in John Lewis, they want to know the passion that's gone into it, the processes, to see how you color the leather, the way you cut it and stuff. That's what you do very well. But it's there's a transparency there that with because one thing I've noticed, and I'll be very careful how I phrase this, but there are other people that sell craft-based businesses, but they just outsource all the production to other people.
And that, what you've just said there, is probably the biggest reason I started doing the videos, because I came across the same thing, and I'll be careful in what I say as well. But I'll give you an example of a table manufacturing company that I know. Now, they create handcrafted British tables. However, the tabletop comes from Turkey. The table legs come from India. They come into the UK. He puts the table legs on the table, and because he's changed the structure of it and the way it looks, it's now classed as made in Britain. And because he's done it by hand, it's now handmade in Britain, technically. And I got a lot of people saying, do you actually make these, or where do you get them from? Oh, no, I make it. Well, actually make it. And I was like, yes, I actually make it. So early days, I would take pictures of my work. So, you know, I'd cut the pieces out so they were just too fat for this. So they're just literally pieces of the wallet. And then I'd send the pictures of them coming together. And then I'd send pictures of them complete sort of thing. And getting like stages of wallet being made. And then obviously the video started automatically combating that, because people were watching me actually roll out a giant sheet of leather.
But it's that authenticity to it. And likewise, you know, realistically, I imagine a lot of your buyers are business owners.
Yeah, they are.
But because of that, they'll appreciate the amount of effort, and that justifies the price.
It does, yeah. And there was another side of it, which, again, careful the way I phrased this. But it's, if you think of some of the makes like Burberry, Fred Perry, Lacoste, when you think of those makes, you think of a certain category of people in our social environment, which you don't necessarily want to be involved with. You know, chaps, basically, right? Now, I didn't want my products being associated in the wrong way, so I priced them in a way which means that only a certain category or type of people could get them. And
this is your brand positioning. So it's almost, if you're going to launch a watch, you position it, if you want to, against Rolex, Omega, whoever, as opposed to against Casio. So that mentally people, I'm happy to pay $3,000 plus for that, as opposed to, it's not a 299 Argos thing. But that's where it's important. It's an important part of strategy, because even though your costs might be the same or similar, and actually I had mine serviced about 6 months ago and it was horrendously expensive, but it's because they took it apart, rebuilt. Apparently, I would have loved, and I would have even paid more to see a hyperlapse of my watch getting taken. I would have paid more for that, and it already cost me 600 quid or whatever it was.
And you know what's crazy, right? The guy who done it for you, on his phone, there's an app to allow him to do it. And that's one of the things that people don't get. In fact, the camera roll, the camera feature on an iPhone, the camera feature on a Samsung, both of them do time-lapse or hyperlapse videos. So the people that are doing this stuff, all they need to do is spend 25 quid on a little phone stand, and they've already got the phone to do it, most likely.
Because in the same way that when you got the watch strap from the guy in Turkey, I think it was Turkey, but it made you feel special because it was bespoke. You're doing the same thing. And actually, although when I take like the Kia to get serviced, even they do a video to show you what was wrong with the brakes. And
just spin the tyre and go, look, it rotates.
But it builds trust, as opposed to Oh, are they just scamming me out of 300 quid or whatever? So, but
Exactly, yeah.
no.
And one of the things that I do, on this one, if you can see, there's a company
Yep.
logo on that pocket, and then the actual wallet itself, we've put somebody's initials on there, so that personalization where, these 3 wallets, which I was working on before we came on the call,
Mm-hmm.
they're all from the same template, but they're all dyed different
Yep.
colours, they're all stamped with different initials. The way that red and the way that brown's reacted to the leather, you can see the markings on there. It means they're completely different.
Mm-hmm.
You can see all the imperfections on the brown a lot more than you can the red. And it's down to the fact that, the leather's different. It's a material which isn't produced in a factory.
Yeah, I got you.
You've got to get different ways. So the bespoke side of it, I think a lot of people pay for that as well.
No, very cool. So what's the dream for the business?
I think I'm in a very fortunate position at the minute where I'm trying to decide on where I want to take it next.
Mm-hmm.
I've got the option of getting a venue. I've got the option of hiring staff and training them up and having them produce the products and then building a bigger company. Or I've got the option to create a lifestyle business where I do it all myself and I work from home or a home workshop and I produce these things and sort of have a nice cushy life where I'm producing stuff. So I'm in that position at the moment where I'm trying to weigh up my options. I'm manufacturing products for a few companies. So I've just got an order today from one of them to make some more products for them. So I've got 3 or 4 companies that I'm doing that for. I've got 3 or 4 resellers who are selling products on my behalf. And then I've got my direct sales. And at the minute, what I'm kind of doing is I'm not looking for new resellers. I'm not particularly looking for new manufacturers. I'm just seeing which one brings in the most business.
Yep.
And what works better, because if manufacturing really picks up and I'm getting 50 orders, 60 orders from one company a month, and I can afford to bring somebody in, what, the business will work really well in this way, then amazing. Where if direct sales keep picking up, and I'm just sort of testing at the minute, I could quite easily stop my resale, stop manufacturing, because there's not a huge amount of it, and focus on the areas of the business that work. So I'm still, because I'm still only, 7, 8 months old, in a full-time business, I'm just testing the pots to go, what works better for me.
Can I give you a little tip?
Go for it.
And you can kind of take it or leave it. But one of the things that you see, I don't know, back in the day, I used to buy men's magazines, but not in a rude way, like the GQ, FHM type stuff. I was never, that's never my thing. But anyway, but if you find out who the editor is of GQ, and imagine his name is John Smith, write him a nice letter and make him a John Smith wallet with his initials on it. Because I imagine your cost price might be 150 quid. I don't know, whatever it is. But actually, the potential to get that as advertorial in a major international premium magazine is massive. And it's almost, have you ever thought about doing that kind of thing?
All right, a mini secret that you're not allowed to tell anybody, even though we're live and we're talking to loads of people, right? I'm going into Living Magazine middle of next month. It's going to be the first magazine that we're going into, which we're going to test to see how that works. And this again goes back to that test and the things I done a leaflet drop and that didn't work and all this sort of stuff. So we're trying Living Magazine. So that's the first one.
But again, but say a leaflet drop is what I would normally class as high volume, low value type stuff.
I sent out 10,000 leaflets and I didn't get anything back.
Yeah.
And we only targeted high value homes. Okay. So I've got 2 options with that. I'm going to redo it or potentially redo it closer to Christmas in the next month or so to see if we can trigger a few things, or I'm going to, instead of spending 400 or 500 quid on 10,000 leaflets being delivered, I'm going to spend 400 or 500 quid on Google Ads and directly approach people. There's 400 or 500 quid on putting an ad in a different newspaper or a magazine. Or,
I think I'd be interested to see how that goes, because one of the things that I'm looking at is that so I'm building a business course which teaches people how to grow and run their business. And one of the things when I'm making the physical textbook, which will go with it, it'll be an extremely nice, well-designed piece of, it's like a magazine, like Northeast Times level thing.
Yeah.
And I'm going to post them to all of my business owner contacts, all of them, not all of them, a lot of them. But the point is, the hope is that it arrives, it's good, it's credible, people flick through it. and they'll go, okay, this guy knows what he's doing. But it's just, so it's traditional marketing, via mail, but I can see it working, because at the very least, what it does, it builds credibility within the audience. Okay, he's put time into this, he's serious, as opposed to, I work in a service business, so I have lots of competitors, and it's all of that differentiation. But no. So I'm conscious of time, because we've already spoke for 50 minutes.
Jesus, right.
Don't worry.
Sorry.
No, it's cool. It's cool. So with every interview, I ask people 2 questions, and this has its own section on YouTube. And actually, I think arguably it's the most valuable kind of bit. And basically, what's the best piece of advice you've ever had?
Keeping a positive mind frame, or mindset. That would probably be the most valuable piece. I actually done a property investment course, which you mentioned some property stuff earlier. But one of the big parts of it was the mindset. It's probably 85% mindset and 15% property. But it was about just not maybe completely avoiding, but trying to push away negativity. I don't listen to the news. If I walk in, the missus listening to the Making a Murder or whatever the hell it is that she's on Netflix with, I'll walk out the room, I won't watch it, I refuse to, because it just puts you in that negative thing. Somebody's working 9 till 5, they're working right now, they're going to finish at 5 o'clock, they're going to get in the car, the first thing they're going to listen to is the news that comes on at 5 o'clock. And if they're wanting to go home and set up a business, and they've just spent 20 minutes in traffic listening to who murdered who or what's going on in the world, they're not going to go home with this really nice positive attitude.
There's a book that I've just read, and if we weren't live, sorry, I could go and get it anyway. It's by a guy called Trevor Moawad, and it's all about mindset, and it's really fascinating. I've done a review on it, but basically he basically talks about this with professional athletes and different people, that listening to both country and western, because it's very negative, and the news can genuinely, and it does, it's proven to affect your mental health. So I avoid a lot of it, by the same token. And I think it is true that people can suck you down, because one of the big things that gets me is some of my friends are very into computer games, Xbox, that kind of thing. And it's when on weekends, because the day I believe is Monday, but because I do stuff 7 days a week, it's Tuesday, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, but it's
I thought it was Wednesday.
But it's when you've got friends who want to take your time to do Xbox or whatever it is, get a pub, and you're like, I kind of want to do this, which is your passion, which is this, and it's not easy, but it is important.
To be honest, I used to have a very, very close-knit friendship group, and it was full of drama, and I took the decision to walk away from it. It kind of was, it was initially thrust. There was an issue, it kind of broke us all up, ish. Not me directly, but with the others. And I kind of made the conscious decision not to proactively chase that friendship group, because I knew it was full of drama. And I swear within days I was happier. Just because this drama had gone, and the amount of, I deleted a family member off Facebook the other day purely on the basis of what they used to share. I'm that into it now, this whole positive attitude and this remove negativity, that kind of no one's safe from it. If you're sharing stuff which is going to put me in a bad mood, you are wiped, and that's it done, because it kind of
just want a pity party. So
exactly.
Isn't it terrible? Lockdowns happened, etc. Just crack on with it. We're on.
Exactly.
I actually see this as I learned to live stream because the world locked down. And I was looking at, where do I see trends working in the future that maybe not seen now, but fast forward 10 years, the ability to stream one to many globally is going to get more and more valuable. So if I can learn how to crack it now, it's a skill I want. But actually, it would never have happened if lockdown hadn't have happened. So the other question which I ask is that if you were to give advice to your younger self, what would it be?
You know what? I don't think I'd change anything.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I've thought about this. It would probably just be nice to people, and that's purely it. I think from my, when I was in school, there was, we'll call it character building and banter between friends. But when you think of it and think, you know, there might have been a few bits that went a bit too far. You know, as you did as kids, and you don't really click on them. And being nice to people is probably one of the biggest successes. And it goes back to this positivity, it goes back to this networking. But if you've got a networking group and you're not a positive person, you're not a nice person, nobody wants to deal with you. And I think just having that niceness around you and being the person that people want to be around sort of draws that through, you know. And it probably, you know, if I think about it, get rid of anyone who's poisonous, you know, bad people in your life, you know, and just attract those better people in a way. And I'd hate to say somebody's better than somebody else. I don't mean it in that way, but it's getting rid of that negativity and just welcoming all the positivity, you know. You know, I blocked, we just listen to this, I blocked my brother from texting me for 3 months due to the fact that we kept arguing. So I just went, and I just blocked him. You know, it was simple as that. And then he unblocked him. He started texting him back. And he went, "Did you block me?" I went, "Yeah, you're annoying me." Flat out, you know. He's like, "All right, fair enough. We don't argue anymore. He doesn't want to get blocked." But it's one of those things where I think if I was to go back and say, you know, but equally, you know, the flip side of it, if I wasn't a dick at certain points, then I wouldn't have that bit in the back of my head saying, be nice.
Yeah.
So I feel like as long as if you make a mistake or if you do something you're not happy with, as long as you write it going forward and you don't do it again, you learn from it. It's not a mistake, it's a learning point. Mistakes only happen when you do it repeatedly. You know, if you continuously make a mistake, then you're just being daft. You know, but if you make a mistake and learn from it, you know what you've learned from it, you haven't necessarily made a mistake. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because one of the things that I find is that, you know, everyone goes through tough times and different things happen or whatever. And at the time it's horrible, but actually the fact that if you learn from it, later on you can then deploy it to help other people. And so I'm exactly the same, as that I've had very many kind of ups and downs in my kind of career or life, whatever. But actually the losses give you the drive to want to work, to do well, because you know what it's like to have the rug pulled and you're like, what am I going to do? But then likewise, when you learn to get over the tough times and support people and, you know, whatever, that then gives you the empathy to then be a better leader and help other people. So I'm the same, is that it's, you know, no, cool. Before we go, is there anything you want to talk about or plug? You said you were launching some new products today. It was the weightlifting straps.
Yeah, well, to be honest, there's a few things that are coming out over the next couple of weeks. Definitely, you know, give me a LinkedIn request or follow me on Facebook or Instagram. I'm kind of like a bad smell. Once you know of me, I kind of don't go away. I'm a little bit everywhere, but yeah, definitely. We've just launched some weightlifting straps. They're on offer at the moment, so we're taking pre-orders. I'm waiting for the leather to arrive. This will be the first product that I do which is pre-dyed.
Okay.
So they're a bit cheaper. There's a reason to it. You know, the straps that I've produced, I've spent 7 months testing things, and this leather, you know, the thicker version, it stretches under pressure. So, you know, if you use a whip, it's going to stretch. So we went with a really soft, sort of suede style, so it's nice against your wrist. But when you put, you know, these have been tested by some strongmen that I know, 250 kilogram deadlifts, and they worked absolutely fine. So there's a lot of research stuff I've done at these. And at the minute, while it's sort of pre-orders, while I'm waiting for leather to arrive and putting them and making them up to get them out the door, they're a bit cheaper as well.
But you know what's also quite cool is that a lot of business owners are into their fitness.
Yes,
it's part of the same kind of thing where
I won't lie, I did consider that.
It's true. And actually, when I was, I say 4 months into kind of launching, bear in mind, I'm still less than a year. A lot of my promotion on the video on the back of my website was related to fitness related stuff, be it a runner, and it was all about motion and moving forward and stuff. But I was conscious of it because, again, it's that kind of thing that the more you can relate with your target market, the more likely they are to buy into your products and like your stuff.
Yes.
And likewise, even almost starting on a kind of cheaper product, it gets people into your ecosystem. So they might start at weightlifting straps, then they upgrade to a belt, and then they might buy a bag or whatever. But actually, it makes sense.
Yeah. So the other things, I've got this wallet, which is a new wallet called the Mic, which is coming out this week, which will be launched. We've got a travel wallet coming out. So a gentleman got in touch, and this is something I'll mention. I've got a travel wallet coming out. The guy got in touch and said, I want a travel wallet. There's 4 of us in the family, so it needs 4 passport slots, this, that, and the other. And we designed it to his needs.
Mm-hmm.
So we created it off the back of what he wanted it to be. Now, the flip side of that is I'm speaking to a gentleman who's coming tomorrow morning to make a diabetes pouch.
Okay.
So he has there's 3 parts to it. There's his belts. He wants it on his belt, like a belt pouch.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be his vital stuff goes in his belt pouch. There's going to be a book which holds his records and stuff because you have to record and when he takes what he takes. And then there's going to be a car pouch which has got refills for his other stuff, which holds 5 days worth of insulin or whatever it's going to be. That kind of comes off the basis of people getting in touch and going, could you do this?
Yeah.
Chances are, yes, I can. And that's one of the things, because I actually make this from scratch and I design all my own designs, I make it from blank, it's somebody wanted something, chances are I can make it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the big parts of my business where I go, someone says, can you make this? I go, yeah, I can actually.
Yeah.
And I'll sit down with them. I had a message this morning from somebody I know saying, could you make me a glasses case? I've just had to change my prescription. I've got a pair of normal glasses. I've got a pair of sunglasses with prescription coming. Can you make one glasses case to fit them both? So when I'm wearing one, it goes in there, and a little clip that goes in my bag. And yeah, absolutely, not a problem. It's not something I offer right now.
Mm-hmm.
But once I've made this for her, I'll add it to the website and it'll go down as a product. That's why the website's got so much stuff on it.
Yeah.
Because every time that we do something new or bespoke, take pictures because I've got my own studio.
But that's good for your SEO. It's good on many different levels. And again, what we mentioned before, to help justify the price premium or to allow you to increase a bigger premium, consider the hyperlapse of their video. It makes them feel special. So suddenly then for 600 quid, they're not just getting the product, it's the experience. They can tell people about the experience.
Exactly.
And actually for you, it doesn't cost you anything.
No, it's just a bit more time. Now, to be fair, the videos are quite pain in the ass, but it's because they have to stop, start, swap, change, have to bloody pull the legs out and then to restart. It can be an absolute nightmare, but you know what? It works from marketing. It makes that experience better. And this is one of the things, if anybody's after, saying, oh, it's great for you who's got a physical product to record, who can, because you get that, I've had that, or what would you do, or what do you recommend for me? Try everything. I started on TikTok.
Do this. I don't have a
Yeah.
physical product, but I sell me. So
yeah, exactly.
And
try new things. You messaged me, and the first thing I said to you was, "Oh, geez, I've not done one of them before, but why not? Let's give it a go." I don't know if it's going to work, but if it did work, and I got business from it, I'll probably do it again. The TikTok videos on TikTok, I got no business from it. I had over 110,000 views in like a month. But I got no business from it, so I stopped putting it on there. But I've moved the videos somewhere else because it works better. Posts, talking, try things. Just try it. Give it a couple of weeks. If it doesn't work, try somewhere else. I stumbled across videos that work really, really well for me, so I continued doing videos. If the videos didn't work, I wouldn't do them, and I'd try something different. I got this really expensive, fancy video. I've had 2 of them done. We're going to do another one again soon. If you go on the website, you kind of see it. It's all blue and mystical. Yeah, it was recorded in my garage by my brother-in-law. It's one of those things. We created a workshop to record it in. But these little videos on my phone do so much more and mean so much more and give so much more than that video, which took 30 hours to make.
But what I'd say is that it's the right thing to have both. So the 30-hour video adds the credibility. The other one adds trust. So it's right. If you only had one or the other, you wouldn't be as strong as having both. Yeah,
and I went limited. I'm not that registered yet, but I went limited purely because being a limited company means you can put a company number against it.
Yep.
It gives you credibility. I trademarked my business or my logo, my family crest, which is what this is. I trademarked that. I trademarked that purely on the basis that, having that little TM gives you that little bit of credibility.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I went to a solicitor's who I know, and I got him to make my terms and conditions. So it protects me, and I've got the trademark done so it protects me in my business. but also because when somebody goes to look at the terms and conditions and they're written properly for your business, it gives you credibility. And all right, all of that, getting limited business set up properly, getting your trademark set up properly, getting your terms and conditions set up properly, it's not cheap.
Yeah,
it's an investment. But for somebody on the outside who doesn't know you to look at it and go, you know what, they're a proper business. Mm-hmm. It means a lot. And it helps. Now I've sent products to Perth, I've sent products to Philadelphia, I've sent products up and down the UK.
Wow.
I think during our first 2 years of business, I've done 75 projects. Mm-hmm. Since January to now, we're hitting just over 200.
Wow.
And it's building and building. I don't know, I probably know about 25% of the people who order from me a month now. And the 75% of people I've never met before, like yourself, who just get in touch and say, can you do this? The gentleman coming to see me tomorrow, he's seen my videos, but I've never met the guy. So it's one of those things where it does build this credibility side of it when someone looks and goes, oh yeah, he's not a random bloke just crafting things. Like business, I've got a craft business. I'm crafting stuff. You don't usually see craft businesses do well. So having that credibility is extremely important.
So on an hour and 7 minutes, I just wanted to, but it's like, so we hadn't met before today. I'd seen your stuff. Yeah. I'd appreciated it. I've actually genuinely really enjoyed. I love the just say yes to stuff and actually the approach to it. Everything you've said, I actually kind of agree with. And again, this is a good point, like why video is so useful, is that people do business with who they like, but people that they feel have the same value set. And you do you meet people, especially in sales, that are just kind of shysters. They're in it for the quick sale, whatever. And through a conversation, they'll buy into what you do, how you do it, why you do it, and the authenticity that will last a long, long time. That actually, anyway. So I appreciate your time. It's been great to kind of meet. I get to spend the next 4 hours kind of editing this up and clicking it up and going to YouTube and stuff. But again, for me, this is part of a 10-year game plan that is just to gradually build the brand. And then over time, just see what happens. But no, Stuart, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me on. I've really enjoyed it. It's been an experience, so appreciate it.
And stay in touch, and then say hi to Joe next time you see him as well.
Certainly will. I'll be seeing him this week, so I'll pass him my best.
Good stuff. All right. Cheers, Stuart. Thanks a lot.
Cheers, pal. Thank you very much.